guys, let us look at this example where we have to divide two complex numbers, both of them are expressed in the polar form, and finally we want to write the final answer in the standard form, which is a plus ib form. Guys, let us go back and recall that when we divide any two complex numbers that are expressed in the trig form, what we have to do is we have to divide the corresponding r's, which means we have to divide the corresponding absolute values, which are usually written in the front like 2 and 4, and then with the other pieces we have to just subtract the angle. With multiplication we add the angles, when we are dividing or taking the quotient we have to just subtract the angle. So let us use that formula to simplify this ratio. So guys, it's going to be 2 over 4, which is simply 1/2. So we don't have to really do much about it. And then the next piece is going to be cosine of, so I should put that in the parentheses because there's going to be a binomial, because then we have to basically distribute that 1/2. So it's going to be cosine of the difference. So we always start from the upper one as a theta 1, and this is like my theta 2. So it is always theta 1 minus theta 2, which means whatever is in the numerator, that is going to be my theta 1, that is my first angle, and then we subtract the denominator or the angle in the denominator by that one. So it is 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2 plus I. Same thing with the sine, the angles are the same, 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2. So once we write that down, then we got to simplify, which means we got to simplify this piece, guys. This is cosine of 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2 is simply going to be just pi, because, okay, let me actually write the step. 3 pi minus pi is 2 pi, and then we got to divide by 2. Guys, 2's will cross out, so I'll be left with pi finally, plus I times sine of same thing. 3 pi minus pi is 2 pi, so it is 2 pi over 2. 2's will cross out, so finally I will have 2 times, sorry, not 2, it is 1/2. 1/2, because 2 over 4 is 1/2. It is cosine of pi plus I sine of pi. When I simplify this, this is 1/2. And cosine of pi, I can look it up on the unit circle. Guys, I keep on saying all the time in these videos, go back and look at your unit circle. That is the reason for that is if you have access to a unit circle, and if you're allowed to use a unit circle for your tests and everything, then you got to go back and look at your unit circle and not make your life too difficult. But guys, if you're not allowed to use a unit circle, then you have few other ways. One is you got to remember some of these ratios, which I highly encourage that you should try to remember some of these, or you can use a calculator, or you have to figure out some other ways of doing it. I think the most key ways or most important ways are like using a unit circle, or remembering this, or using a calculator. A cosine of pi, guys, looking at my unit circle, is -1, and this sine pi is 0, so 0 times I is still 0. So when I simplify this, I have to basically multiply 1/2 times -1, which is -1/2. That is my standard form. So let me write this out. It is just -1/2. And if you don't like to leave it as just a real number, then feel free to rewrite this as -1/2 plus 0i. Now you can see the real part, which is -1/2, and the imaginary part, which in this case is just simply 0. So guys, this is how we divide two complex numbers which are expressed in a polar or a trig form. I will see you next time with another example. Till then, guys, take care. Keep practicing these examples. You have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Okay, take